Hello and welcome to Today in History. My name is Tonye Fiesimana. Let's get started. As usual, we'll roll the blind back several centuries ago. It's the year 1533, and this guy is called Pope Clement VII. You know what he did today? He excommunicates England's King Henry VIII. How dare he? So, Pope and King. Interesting. So Henry VIII was excommunicated from the Catholic Church. I did mention this in my previous video, probably 10, 11 videos ago. The reason being, Henry decided to take on another wife, divorce his current wife at the time, which was Catherine of Aragon. I believe she was from a Spanish royal family. So he wanted to divorce her and marry someone else, and the Catholic Church was against divorce. So this was the beginning of the schism, or the great breakaway between the Catholics and what became known as the Protestant Church. So that's what happened on this day. Pope Clement VII excommunicates England's King Henry VIII. Let's move on to the year 1767. John Quincy Adams, 6th President of the United States, was born on this day. He was in office from 1825 to 1829. Next, we meet this lady named Kate Edgar. Edgar is spelled Edger. She becomes New Zealand's first woman graduate and first woman in the British Empire to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. Interesting. An Antipodean. So essentially someone from the southern hemisphere is called an Antipodean, especially from Australia and New Zealand. So that's Kate Edgar on this day in 1877 with her Bachelor of Arts degree, first woman graduate and first woman in the British Empire to earn a Bachelor of Arts. I have a video about the first woman in America also. I'll possibly put a link to that video somewhere, once I've edited this, possibly. I'm not promising, because I'm still trying to, get the hang of this YouTube thing. Anyway, let's move on to the next video, and it's off, rather the next picture. Alexander Graham Bell and his family. So that's his wife and obviously two daughters. He was born on this day in 1877, and he got married to Mabel Hubbard at the Hubbard estate in Cambridge. Interesting, Massachusetts. So she must have been from a wealthy family if they had an estate. Obviously, for those who know, Alexander Graham Bell was a Scottish-born inventor, scientist, and engineer who is credited with inventing and patenting the first practical telephone. He also co-founded the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, AT&T, in 1885. I wonder what it is with Scottish inventors, I did talk about Logie Baird a few videos ago as well. He was also Scottish. So that's interesting. Is that the land of inventors? I wonder. Don't know if you guys know of any inventors who are Scottish, who were originally Scottish or Scottish origin. Well, drop me a message in the comment section below, because this is the second Scottish inventor now that I've mentioned in the 30 or so videos that I've made. There are probably more. Anyway, so that happened on this day, 1877. Scientist and inventor Alexander Graham Bell was born. No, he wasn't. He got married on this day. Forgive me. This was his wedding day. Oops. We'll carry on to the next clip. 1895. 1895. This couple got married on this day. The lady's name is Margaretha Geertruida MacLeod, nee Zelle. So she was Zelle before she got married to Captain Rudolph MacLeod. Margaretha, better known as Mata Hari, was a Dutch exotic dancer, also a courtesan, and accused of being a spy, which she later admitted, so obviously she was a spy. This is an interesting story, a sad story really. So she was a Dutch exotic dancer and courtesan who was convicted of being a spy for Germany during World War I. Despite her admitting under interrogation to taking money to work as a German spy, many people still believe she was innocent because the French army needed a scapegoat. She was executed by a firing squad in France in the year 1917. So, yeah. Now about this guy who she married, he was a captain in the Dutch colonial army, even though he was Scottish. So, yeah, that's another Scotsman again. Interesting. His family was of Scottish origin, and from 1897 to 1902, they lived in Java and Sumatra. So after they got married in 1895, they moved to Java 2 years later and were there for 5 years. They returned to Europe but later separated, and she began to dance professionally in Paris in 1905 under the name of Lady MacLeod. Okay. There's something about the French army that's also mentioned. The French army needed a scapegoat. Okay. Yeah, she did answer to a newspaper advert that Captain MacLeod put in the papers, which I've also found quite interesting because I didn't think that in those days people met partners via newspaper adverts. That only, I thought in my head, happened few years before the internet became the internet, if you know what I mean, before the internet became widespread and online dating became very popular. So, yeah, that's quite interesting. So sadly, Mata Hari was executed by a firing squad in 1917. Let's move on to the year 1900, and Charlotte Cooper on this day beats Helen Prevost to become the first female Olympic tennis champion and the first individual female Olympic champion in any sport. So that's Charlotte Cooper, and she beats Helen Prevost, who was French. Charlotte Cooper, I believe, was American. 1920, 20 years later, Yul Brynner, this distinctive face with his distinctive bald head. As soon as I saw the face, I knew I'd seen that face somewhere. So for those of you who are screaming, it's The King and I. That was the famous movie that he starred in. His full name was Yuli Borisovich Briner, short name, better known rather as Yul Briner. He was a Russian-American actor, singer, and director, considered one of the first Russian-American film stars. He became widely known for his portrayal of King Mungut in the Rodgers and Hammerstein stage musical The King and I, for which he won 2 Tony Awards and later won an Academy Award for the film adaptation. He played the role, wait for this, 4,625 times on stage, and became known for his shaved head, which he maintained as a personal trademark long after adopting it for The King and I. Interesting, he played the role 4,625 times. Amazing. It reminds me of who was the inventor who did 10,000 experiments and failed before he finally cracked the code. It was not Graham Bell. Graham Bell was a telephone guy. Was it Isaac Newton? I believe it was Isaac Newton. Anyway, the point is, for anyone to get good at anything, you have to do it over and over and over and over again. So these guys who did experiments thousands of times, or those who did their sales job, knocked on doors and knocked on thousands of doors to get better at their craft, hats off to them. These days, a lot of people give up too soon. That's why they don't see success. Setting up a YouTube channel is one example. You watch the experiences of others. You actually watch others grow under your eyes. You can actually watch them grow over time. And you also have that desire to make money on YouTube, for instance. And after a few months of uploading videos, perhaps regularly, perhaps not, you give up and say, oh, this doesn't work. And you go back to your 9 to 5 or go back to what you were doing before that wasn't getting you any results. And then you blame something else, some external force, and not yourself. But I think this, for me, goes to show that do not give up easily. People tried thousands and thousands of times to perfect their craft. So do not give up. Just keep trying, keep improving, and eventually you're going to hit your goal. Right, enough of my rambling. Let's get back on track. 1937. On this day, George Gershwin, an American composer and pianist, died. His compositions spanned both popular and classical genres. Among his best-known works are the orchestral compositions Rhapsody in Blue, which was made public in 1924, and An American in Paris, 1928, the songs Swanee, 1919, and Fascinating Rhythm, 1924, the jazz standard I Got Rhythm, 1930, and the opera Porgy and Bess, 1935, which spawned the hit Summertime. So that's George Gershwin by his piano and some music. 1957, the famous Aga Khan III died on this day. A little about Aga Khan. His full name and titles: Sir Sultan Mohammed Shah Aga Khan III, GCSI, GCMG, GCIE, GCVO, PC. was the 40th Imam of the Nizari Ismaili religion. I say religion as a question, or was it a sect? Let me know, guys, if you know more about the Aga Khan III and also the Nizari Ismaili religion or sect. So is it a religion or is it a sect? Because from what I have found online, it's a Muslim religion, or there's a connection to Islam. So I'll read further on. He was one of the founders and first permanent president of the All India Muslim League, AIML. His goal was the advancement of Muslim agendas and protection of Muslim rights in India. The League, until the late 1930s, was not a large organization but represented the landed and commercial Muslim interests of the British-ruled United Provinces, as of today, Uttar Pradesh. He shared Sir Syed Ahmad Khan's belief that Muslims should first build up their social capital through advanced education before engaging in politics. Aga Khan called on the British Raj to consider Muslims to be a separate nation within India, the so-called two-nation theory. Even after he resigned as president of the AIML in 1912, he still exerted major influence on its policies and agendas. He was nominated to represent India to the League of Nations in 1932 and served as president of the League of Nations from 1937 to 1938. Interesting story. So, let's move on to the year 1989. On this day, Laurence Olivier, pictured here, died. Full name, Laurence Kerr Olivier. Title, Baron Olivier, OM, whatever that means, was an English actor and director who, along with his contemporaries Ralph Richardson, Peggy Ashcroft, and John Gielgud, dominated the British stage of the mid-20th century. His family had no theatrical connections, but Olivier's father, a clergyman, decided that his son should become an actor. Well, that's good on him. I guess he saw the potential in his son and decided that his son should be an actor. After attending a drama school in London, Olivier learned his craft in a succession of acting jobs during the late 1920s. In 1930, he had his first important West End success in Noel Coward's Private Lives, and he appeared in his first film. So that's Laurence Olivier for you. And the fact that his clergyman father encouraged him to go into acting is quite a positive move, because my suspicion of clergymen back in the day, I use the word suspicion rather loosely. I'll explain. Clergymen tend to be reserved, and I mean clergymen today are reserved, not to talk of clergymen a century ago, so he must have been one of the few clergymen who thought ahead of their time, if that makes sense. And the world of acting then also, I suspect, was a bit more flashy than your normal, day-to-day life. So you just imagine your son being an actor and you being a clergyman. It's almost like night and day. But yet he encouraged his son to go into acting. So kudos to Laurence Olivier's dad, and I hope that the same, if you have kids, watch them closely, see what they're interested in, and encourage them to follow their passions, to follow what they're good at, what they enjoy doing. so that it doesn't feel like work to them, and they end up flourishing. Look at Laurence Olivier. He became famous, and no one would have heard of him, or very few people would have heard of him, if his dad hadn't encouraged him to pursue his acting career. And we wouldn't have known that his dad was a clergyman also. Very unlikely. So encourage your kids. If you do have kids, if you plan to have kids, encourage them to follow their dreams. Okie dokie, let's move on to the year 1995. On this day, 7,000 Bosnian Muslim men are massacred when Bosnian Serbs overrun the UN safe haven of Srebrenica. Safe haven is in quote here. Obviously, it wasn't a safe haven because these guys were massacred, 7,000 of them. Horrible, horrible death. Last but not least, Leon Spinks. This is a guy that brought down the great Ali. He's 67 years old today. A bit about Leon Spinks. He was born obviously on this day in 1953. He's an American former professional boxer who competed from 1977 to 1995. In only his 8th professional fight, he won the undisputed heavyweight championship in 1978. So after only 8 fights, after defeating Muhammad Ali in a split decision in what was considered one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. I'll show you some more pictures. So obviously that's Leon Spinks to the right of your picture and Muhammad Ali to the left in the white trunks. That's him. That's him there. Bit frightening there, but yeah, that's him. And that's him and his son. Apparently he was hospitalized not too long ago. That's Leon Spinks again. That's another picture of the fight in that fateful night. That's them again. So, Leon Spinks, happy birthday. Hope you get well soon. That wraps it up, folks, for today in history for the 11th of July. Hope you join me again for today in history for the 12th of July. Thanks, guys, for dropping by. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and also subscribe by clicking the notification bell if you want to receive notifications of my video uploads. Thanks again, guys. Stay safe. Bye-bye.